So welcome to BHSR PLM Degree College, Davarpalli. So in this session, I am going to talk about the second paper computer applications paper named as a programming in C. So this is the computer paper. So that is programming in C. This is the second paper computer applications in the fourth sem. Okay, so let us see here. So in the previous class, I was discussed about the introduction of the functions and functions declarations or function prototype here. So in this session, I am talking about the two types of the functions like return statements and the recursive function here. So what is the return statements here and what is the recursive function here? So let us see what is the difference between return and recursive functions here. Okay, see. So in this session, I am going to talk about the what is return statement here. So return. So return is the one of the keyword. So return is the one of the keyword. It is one of the keyword which is used to returning the values here. Okay, which is used to returning the values here. By default, C language compiler is called as a. It is the return type is integer here because of the default return type of the C language is int. That means you have to specify that the main is always specific returning the values is integer here. Okay, if you don't returning any value in the C programming language, we have to specify with void here. We have to specify with void here. So void is one of the return type which does not return any values here. Okay, by default, if you are not specifying the any return type, it should be returning the integer values here. It should be written the integer values here. Okay, so actually in C programming language, in C programming language is written like this. So main function we have to use some code here. We have to use this style of the code. It will be going here and going here, and here you are not specifying any written type here. You are not specifying any written type here, but you cannot specify any written type here, but by default it can specify the written type is called as a integer here. Why it is integer here? Why it is integer here? Okay, because of the main function contain some parameters like this. We have to see int arguments, int args, args here, and there is also another parameters here that is called as a char star args. Okay, so this is the process of the while we are creating in the main function here. While we are creating in the main functions here with respect to the C language here. So with respect to the C language here. Okay, in Java language we have to see public void main string in the braces string main string args is the part of the in Java programming language. While we come to the C language, this is the actual definition of the C main functions. Okay, we have to specify is int, and we have to specify the int args and char star args values here. Okay, that is meant here we can passing the pointer variables we have to pass it here. That means we can take it as a character variables, and it is the integer and args will be passed here. Okay, so this is called as a command and arguments topic series. This is called as a command and arguments topic series. Okay, so in generally we are not specifying the any parameters of the main sections here. So that's why we simply place as a, this is called as a empty parameter, that is for default parameters. Then no need to specify the int is the return type here. Okay, so this is the declaration of the main session. In the generally we have to use the C program here. Okay, but when generally sometimes I'm preparing this type of the syntax, this type of the code will be I'm writing here in the sessions. Some of the compilers, some of the softwares of the C programming language is not accepting the this type of the returning type here. Okay, we have to specify the return type here, or we have to use the return statements at the end of the function here, at the end of the function of the program here. So in this session we have to use the return type as a return zero. Okay, and we have to use this. Some of the times we are not specifying the any return types here. Okay, it sometimes we have to use the some return types here. Okay, so in this session we have to discuss about the return type here. What is the return type here? When we are returning the any value as an integer, we have to specify the default value will be int here. Okay, so integer is also returning values is also value belongs to the only integer values, but not the float, char or double here, because of the main function of the C program is returning by defaultly it is int here. We have to specify int here. That's why we have to specify the returning is also 0 or 1. That means 0 and 1 are belongs to the what here, or both are belongs to the integer values here. Hence we are using the type of the returning statements are used here. Okay, so see here, and returning statements are used in the 4 different situations based on the different compilers of the C program here. Okay, see, let us see. There is a 4 types of the functions are available here, and how to declare in this returning statement C. Okay, so see, so we have to see there is a 4 types of the declaration of return statements. We have to see. So program name as return. So return keyword. Return is one of the keyword here, and we have to specify the return. In sometimes in the many programs are going to using the return statements, and some of the programs are not specifying the any return statements here. Okay, so by default in C programming language, C is always what here? C is always a return type is int here. And let us see here int. What is the int here? Okay, so for example, I am declaring the main function like this. Main function, and you have to use the codes here. You have the classing, and at the last time you have to specify return 0. Okay, so in here in this session you have to specify the return 0. That's why you have to specify the return value is int here. Int here. Okay, so this is the one of the type here while you're using the program here. So in this session, main is return type is integer here. Main return type is integer here. Why? Because it returning the 0 here. It returning the 0 here. 0 is belongs to the integer part here. So that's why we have to declare the integer here. Okay. Many of the compilers, that means so all of the compiler of the C program softwares compilers, it accepted int and return 0 is accepted here. Okay, is int and return 0 is return 0 and int main int is accepted here. Okay, so when we are using the different types of the compilers while you are using the C program implementation, so all these compilers can accept, all these softwares can accept this type of situations. This type of situations. Okay, what type of situations? Return is 0 and main return type is int here, and you have to write the return 0 at the end of the your function, at the end of your function here. Okay, but not write in the middle of the any function, middle of the any function here. Okay, if you want to specify the return 0, the return 0 can be specified at the end of the that specific function only, but not the middle of the function, but not the beginning of the function here. Okay, the return statement is always specified at the bottom of the specific function here. Okay, and this is also one type of the returning statements are also used here, and there is another type also used here. So that is called as the main here, main function. Open statements, statements, and we have to use the logic code here, logic and close this. Okay, so in this session, I'm not specifying any written statement here. In this session, I'm not specifying any written statement here because of the by default it not acts by default main is returning type is integer and I'm not specifying any return statement 0 here. Okay, because of the this is acceptable in the some of the compilers of the C here, some of the compilers of the C heads. Okay, but in different situations it is not acceptable. It is not acceptable here. Okay, so this is the original path to using the return 0 here. Okay, so some of the compilers not asking the return types and return zeros here. Okay, this is also one of the functions you are using regularly. Many people are using it. This type of the program approaches are going here. Okay, in the same situation, in some of the situation, like they are using the third type that is called main function 0, open curly brace, and statements and the logic of the program or whatever it may be, or you have to specify nothing to specify. Okay, so logic. Uh, so logic, if you have to write the logic, we are getting the doubts, so that's why I'm erasing this. So code here. Logic is nothing but in the code here. Okay. So logic close, and you have to return the 0. Return 0. Okay. Return 0. It is acceptable. Some of the compilers of the C program here. It is acceptable. Some of the functions here. Why? Because the main method is always returning the integer values. Also, we are returning the zero values. That's why no need to specifying that type of the values here. Okay. That's why some of the compiler can accept this type of the approaches here. And in the rare situations, in this rare situations, the return is like this, and we have to use this only return 0. You have to use not to use the return type here. Okay, if your program does not return any values, we have to specify the void. Okay, so void we have to use the main function. The main function we have to specify like this. Thanks for going there. This is called wide main here. So in this scenario, I'm using the new term that is called void here. So what is void here? A void is a one type of return. It should not return any value here. While you are using the void type, void is the main return type, and it should not return any value here. Okay. So void is also one of the keyword. Okay. When it is used here, when the program does not return any values, we have to specify the main method is called as the void here. Okay, so this type of situation is also acceptable in the some of the compilers also. Okay, so this is the uses of the returning statements. Okay, so this is acceptable some of the compilers, and this is also acceptable some of the compilers, and this is acceptable some of the compilers. Okay, and this is also acceptable all of the compilers. Okay, so that the recommended, that means the recommended return type is this type. This is the this approach is called as a recommended approaches while you're using in the returning statements here. Okay, so this is the class for the returning statements, and next class we will talk about the recursive function here. Okay, what is the recursive function here? Okay, let us see recursive. Okay, we have to copy this declaration of the returning statements here. And see here, and there is a recursive functions. Okay, this is called as a return function, return statements, and now I'm going to talk about the recursive functions. So what is recursive function here? Let us see here. Recursive function. Recursive function is what here? What is the purpose of recursive functions? Why it is used in the recursive functions here? Okay, see here. Recursive function is what here? A function can call itself only is called as a recursive function. That means if a program having the function, that function is called by the same function is called as a recursive functions. Okay. In this process, the recursive process is going from it is going from recursively, and at one stage the program will be going to stopped here. When at the stop of that function will be not going to execute here. So this is situation is called as a recursive function here. Okay. In the recursive function, we have to call the function same function by itself. Okay. We can calling calling itself of a function is called as a recursive function. It's called as a recursive function. So calling itself of a function. That means same function we have to call the twice and twice only. Okay, so that is we call as a recursive process here. Okay, in this process we have to create each and every time it can be created the frames in the RAM. That is called as a primary memory here. So here we have to declare the function is named as a main function. Okay, and open this braces and we have to write the codes here, and we have to write the recursion. Recursion is the one of the function, and we have to write the codes. We have to code recursion and also open this. We have to recursion. Okay, so in this process, I am declaring the syntax. Declare the syntax like main function. That means so C program contains what here? C program contains the main function. Main function contains recursion function. Main function contains recursive function, and this function can be declared in this bottom of the function here. That means recursion here, and again it going to declare here. Okay, that means C programming language is going to execute from top to bottom approach because of the main function can be placed at the top of the function. That's why we can call it from the main session. Okay, that means the main program is executed like this in the session. After placing this recursive function, you have to call the function and call from check it the recursive function where it is declared defined here. That means here will be defined here. Here will be defined here, and the recursion statement is going to execute here and come to here, and this process is going to execution like this. Okay, it is going after execution of the recursive function and come to here and print the values here, and later it can executing the remaining statements. Okay, later it can going to the recursion statements here. Okay, in this scenario we have to use the frameworks like this. Example, in the stack of the memory, in the stack memory, the main function, the main function can be declared like this: recursion, and recursion is again declared recursion function. Okay, and this function is again declared what here? Recursion. So main recursion, and again recursion. That means first recursion and second recursion. First to second. And it is also this function is also same declaring this recursion. This is called recursion. And which is going to be, and we have to use recursion. And again, this recursion function is going here and executing like this. Same. So this is the recursion process. Recursion here. And each and every time it can define the frames from the main function is going to execute the recursion, but it will go on to recursion, and recursion is going to execute the recursion, and it is going to repeat the recursion, and it is coming here. So same that way it is a recursion, and recursion function, and it is repeated and coming to recursion here, and that means this function is going to again execute the same process. This is also going to same process. This is also going to same process. This process is going. At one stage, the function will be stopped here. Okay, because of the condition going to stopped here. Okay, that's why we have to use it. So this process going, and the frame will be always setting this process, setting this frame, setting this frame, and this process going into the RAM only, and the finally that value will be declared at a specified stage only. Okay, so that is we call as a recursive function. Recursive function means what here? A function can call itself only, that is we simply call as a recursive function. In this recursive function, we can go in with the same function, call the same function, exit twice, thrice, and four times, 5 times, or 10 times, whatever it may be, and the process is going and going. At one stage, the program will be stopped here. That is we simply called as a recursion syntax, and this is the recursion syntax, and you have to write. Okay, you have to copy this recursion syntax. This is the recursion syntax, and this is the frame how it is going to execute here. Okay, so let us see. I am going to write the program using the factorial number. Next, to write a program to print. Write a program to print. Write a program to print factorial number of the given number. Factorial of given number. Factorial of given number. So in this process, we have to use some code here, and in this session, we have to write some program here. So how it is write the program here? We have to use some factorial method. Okay, and in this session, we have to also declare some global declaration functions. Okay, what is the global declaration function? A function can define at the above the main function. That function is called as a global declaration function. Thus, that global declaration function scope is throughout the program. We have to use that code here. Okay, so let us see. We have to write the functions using the recursive functions. Okay, write a program to write a program to print factorial of the given number using a recursive function. There is no statement, there is no keyword to specifying the recursive statements here. Okay, we have to use this 32 keywords of the program here, and there is no extra keyword is used, no extra word is used to tell us about the recursive process. Okay, in this process we have to use the int factorial of the n here, and main can be defined as an integer here. And we have to take the two variables, and integer is one, n is the integer value, and res, that means result, is also specifying the integer values, and we have to enter a n value here that can be stored in the scanf statements. We have to use that statements here, and that means we have to specify the result is equal to fact of n here. Result is equal to fact of n here, and we have to print up the factor of the given number is equal to percentage d, and we have to specify the of the else set. Okay, then we have to print the int fact int n. We have to specify the program here. Okay, so see here we have to write the program here. So hash include std.h. So in this session, we have to specify the global declaration, that is called int fact of int here, and we have to specify the semicolon at the end of the global declaration phase. and you have to take the main method. So what is the purpose of this? I will tell you at the beginning of the program, sorry, middle and end of the program here, and have to specify the main method. So main can be taken as a int here. So main can be taken as a integer here. So that's why we have to specify int main method and open curly brace. So in this scenario, we have to declare the two variables named as a n and res. Both are belongs to integer values. So that's why we have to specify int n and res. Okay, and we have to specify crs here for clearing the previous outputs here, and we have to use this n value printer. In this printer, we have to use enter any value or enter value to find the factorial scan percentage d, because of it is the integer value, that's why we have to specify this value, and we have to kept it n here. And in this process, we have to use the factorial function. We have to call that factorial functions. Okay, how it is called the factorial number? We have to see the say we have to use the result is equal to rs is equal to factor n here. Okay, so our result is equal to factor n here. So in this session, n contains the result will be placed here. So that's why we have to place it here like this. Print factorial of factorial of the factorial of the given number. You have to specify it. That means so we have to factorial of percentage d is equal to percentage of d here. Okay, the first percentage is going to n value, and the second percentage is going is going to place it the n value, and it is going to the result. The result will be placed at the result value. That's why we have to specify. We have to specify the comma, and first value is going to n, and second going to result. Okay, and we have to close these braces. Okay, so you have to specify this function. This function named as contains fact, and it contains the factorial value, that is called n value, and it should not return any value. That's why no need to specify any type of here. And we have to draw the int factor int n here. So I'm declaring this function as a global declaration. That's why I'm using the same function declaration. We have to use this. That is called int fact int of n here. That means so what is the end of int? What is the fact of int n here? And we have to declare the function is named as the open here. And we have to check the condition before going to it executes. We have to check the with the if else statements. That means if n greater than 1, if n greater than 1, then we have to use the code. The code will be executing that value will be returning like this. We have to use the return of n into factorial n minus 1. That is what this is. Return what here? So n into factor n minus 1. Okay, how it is going to be discussed later. And else in this section we have to return simply return 0, and we have to close this process, and we have to close this braces. Okay, so this is the sorry return 1 here. Okay, this is the program of the factorial number, and let me explain how it is going to execute the program here. Okay, so we have to see how it is going to to execute the program here. And how it is going here, let me explain. So int fact is the global declaration function. That's why this function can be accepted enter the program here. Okay, so int main and int n comma res and clrs here and printf enter any value here. Okay, it is asking enter value. So this is the output like this, enter any value, enter any value here, any value, and I am entering the 4 here. I am entering 4 and 4 is placed in the n value. 4 is placed in the n value. That's why n is equal to 4 and result is equal to nothing here. And we have to see res is equal to fact of n. The next statement is going to execute. Res is equal to fact of n here. Fact of n here. N here, and it is going to n is equal to 0 and the next statement is going to factor n. Where it is can be different, we have to check the conditions. Okay, the fact where n is going to executing, check the condition, nothing is available here, and it is come to here and factor in the n here. Okay, by default fact will be declared at the global section. That's why it is acceptable, and then the function is going to here and check the condition in the n here and n less than or equal to 1. The condition is true or false. Condition is true because of the this process is less than 4 less than 1. Condition true. Whenever the condition is true, automatically clock will make this execute here. In this session, n into factor of n minus 1 here. In this session, n into factor of n session here. So that's why we have to specify like this. N is equal to factor factor size minus 1 means what here, 3 minus 1, 4 minus 1, that is for 3 here. Okay, and it is going to be again here and again to check the values here, and this process is going and going. Okay, and in factor up to 3 means what here, that means so 3 means, so n value means what here, 4. Fact is like this, you have to specify 4 into, sorry, 3 into 2 into 1 here. Okay, and this process going. So this is the first compilation, and second compilation like this, n into fact of 2, n into fact of 1, and n into fact of 0. Whenever the condition is 0, automatically that means 0 less than or equal to 1, automatically the loop will be false here. Whenever the condition false, and it is going to execute the return statement. That's why it can return the 1 value. Okay, fact of 1 means what here, that means only 1 value here. Okay, and over here fact of 2 means what here, 2 into 1 here. Fact of 3 means what here, 3 into 2 into 1 here. This is calling this function, this is calling this function, this will be called this function, this will be called this function. Okay, in the last function contains what here, n is equal to n into fact of 3 here. That means so n means what here, 4. 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, this will be the result, that is called 24. 24 will be placed into the result value, that is called result is equal to 24. Hence the answer is equal to factorial is equal to, that means factorial factorial percentage d. This is n, that is n value what, 4 equal to result will be placed here. That means the result contains what here, 24. That is the 24 is the result of the program here. So this is the recursive function example. Okay, this is the recursive function example, and you have to copy this program, entire program. Okay, so this is the very important topic while you are using the discuss about the this recursive function here. Okay, so this is class of the recursive function and example of the recursive function here. Okay, better to copy this code here. Okay, so this is the class of the recursive function and the returning statements. Okay, so in this also we have to use the return statement is also used here. So return one and return some function here. Okay, so specifying the return statement, we have to specify the keyword return, but recursive function should not specify the any keyword. So that is the difference of the recursive and recursive functions. Okay, so recursive function means a calling function the same. Sorry, a function can call itself only. That is we simply called as a recursive function. Okay, this is the class of the recursive function. Tomorrow I will discuss in the with the new topics in the C language. Okay, thanks for watching this class.